Harihi Om. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om. शिष्य आत्मसमर्पण। कार्पण्य दोषो उपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढचेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्। Om. Welcome to the class, and we are in the 61st shloka of the second chapter in Bhagavad Gita. The shloka goes like this: Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yasyendriyani tasya prajña pratisthita. Tani sarvani sanyamya. Tani, those, as in those attractions towards objects that drive the sensory pleasures. Sarvani, all of them. Sanyamya, sanyam mein rakhna. It's a common Hindi word that is used. The same is the meaning, keeping under control. Yukta asita. Yukta, being engaged, put your effort towards, is the meaning. Asita means sits, as in remains well composed and in control. Mat paraha, taking me as the supreme goal, as the singular objective. Vashehi yasyendriyani. Vashe, in vash, in full subjugation, as in with absolute control. He, it supports the absoluteness here. Yasya, of one's own, indriyani, the sense organs. Tasya, of such person, prajna, the consciousness, the soul, the intelligence of that particular person is pratishtita, is considered to be fixed. Now, there are several ways that this shloka has been seen, and some traditions see this as an advice for a viveki to attain jnana nishta. They directly attribute it to the quality called as damaha. I hope you remember that, which is shamaha, damaha, uparamaha, titiksha. These were all the shat sampat that comes as part of the four important attributes or the qualifications, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. In this, the Shadga Sampatti, where it comes as Shamaha and Damaha, there the Damaha is supposed to be the one that they interpret the Shloka to address. Shamaha is Yukta, which is control over Manaha. So with Shamam and Damam, when you position yourself with your mind fixed on the Supreme, your prajna gets pratishthit. That is the way that they kind of put the meaning, or they kind of put their interpretation for the shloka. Alternately, I have also heard of some saying, Indriyas being in control is the most important thing. Bhagwan is calling this out as the key contributing factor. We should proactively engage in the process of voluntarily controlling our indriyas. Till such time it, as in the control over the indriyas, becomes our swabhav. Till such time we must put that conscious effort to control it. And hence Bhagwan says this. As in, the control of one's indriya is never dropped, either carried out voluntarily or involuntarily. You start with the voluntary and pursue it till it becomes involuntary. When once it becomes involuntary in you, it is very natural that your indriyas are in your control, then we can say that this person's prajna is well established. Now, Bhagavan does not merely say control the senses. He adds the important aspects here, which is yukta asita matparaha. Now, without these, the restraint collapses. Yukta represents the personality is not divided between knowledge and habit, being inwardly coherent. Matparaha, this is the differentiator. Not just Sanyamya. Sanyamya is you taking in control, but also taking me as the supreme. The orientation towards the supreme, the devotion, the bhakti becomes an important element here. Without that bhakti, the restraint becomes an ego. It is just an ego projection that happens. When senses are powerful, overcome with higher value. We have taken that example many times, wherein that which is of great value to you eventually loses its total value when you find some other value which is greater than the current one. When you put the greatest of the value as your supreme goal, everything else will naturally lose the importance. Asita represents remains established, an implied steadiness, as in being absorbed in that particular way of taking the life. It is not about solving the problems. The biggest of the problem is where the life in itself is seen as a problem. So we are trying to address that root cause. And once that is addressed, anything that happens beyond that is merely an experience, that which comes and goes. So that is what Bhagavan is directly hinting, is the way that we say it. We take Tani Sarvani Sanyamya, put an effort towards that, then Yukta Matparaha, put this particular control with the support of devotion, then Asita. This is the most important thing for one to become a Sthitapragya, or a Sthitapragya is one who practices this. We put it in the latter one. Right, as in it is a definition of Sthitapragya, and we take that as our own exercise as well. Moving beyond, Vashehi yasya indriyani. Bhagavan uses the word vash here. He says, govern the indriyas, govern that particular attention in you. Govern your mind, not nasham. People try to say that in the concentration meditation, everything else should get dropped and you are totally focused into that. The buddhi nasham is what they try to lean towards. We say, no, that is not what Bhagavan has said. It is not nasham. It is vash, taking it in your control. The natural way that it happens in us, which is not the natural way, but the way in which it happens to us under normal circumstances, is we tend to follow the manaha, which follows the indriyas. Here, what the statement means is you taking control over it. And when it is not needed, let it go free. That is the whole point. Don't try to subdue it. It is just having it in your control, as in when you need it, you have it for you. And when you don't, when it goes, it doesn't disturb you. It doesn't affect you at all. You know that it is like a child playing on its own till the time you need the attention of the child. Governed is the key to the term vash here. Go beyond incidents and look at the overall movement in you and see if in case you are in your control. Well, this defines what jnani is. Acharya's words tells us that those are our exercises. Those are the means for us. So stage 1 is voluntary restraint, which is effort based. You have to consciously ensure that these distractions that are driving you are no longer driving you. It is not that you are free of distractions. You are free from following what the indriyas and manaha is doing. The second one is reduced inner conflict, right? Temptations will get naturally weaker. The stage 3 is a natural mastery. Senses are calm by nature. The key differentiator is when mastery becomes involuntary, it does not mean mechanical. Like, there are people who are doing things and they don't even have to look at it and they keep on doing that particular activity that they are in a production line, etc. One can see it. Here, it does not mean mechanical. The mastery becomes involuntary, or becoming involuntary is mastery. As in, it is not something like you are not aware of it, you are aware of it, but that is the natural way that you progress in taking those things. It becomes one's natural composure. I personally feel the Indian music is a great example which can bring clarity. We sing swaras, manodharma, as we can, in several of the artists, you can see that they sing the song and in between they bring about swaras and alapanas. And swaras and alapanas are manodharma. It is done on the stage while performing. That is what is the excellence of an artist. If you take a look at how they became that, they also started their life as children like us. The teacher provides the swaras and students merely repeat them. I still remember when my children used to go to Dr. Nishaji's place, they used to write down the swaras with the talas and then they used to practice it in that way. But as they progress, the exercises will be for you to create it on your own. And as you mature and as you master, it becomes a natural thing that is coming. No matter what song, no matter what raga, once you understand the raga's pattern, the nuances of it, and you know how to control it, then you will very naturally bring about music at any point in time on any raga or song. This transformation is what we are referring to when it comes to the restraint of the indriyas over the sensory objects. Indriya versus indriya arthebhyah. When that aspect happens, as in when for any song or for any raga you are able to put the swaras and bring about the beauty of your own, the manodharma that you are able to establish, that is when tasya prajña pratishtitha. That is what Bhagavan has said in this shloka. Going into Bhashyam, Shankaracharya says, one should first restrain all the senses. Tani sarvani sayyamya. Nextly, should become unified, concentrated and balanced. That is the yuktaha. Samahitaha is the word that he uses. Such a one should be self-composed. Asita, in a state of deep devotion, having me as the supreme goal, matparaha. The asita emphasizes me as the inner self in all the beings. Sarva pratyag atma. Pratyagatma is the way that Shankaracharya has put. Right? That is the devotion. What we do is we put an idol or we put some kind of an alambana and see the God in that. Here Shankaracharya invokes this special thing. In fact, further in Bhagavad Gītā, there will be places where Bhagavan himself will say, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mai pashyati, etc. Right? Where that sarvatma bhavam is emphasized. So Shankaracharya reminds us here that sarva pratyagatma is Ishvaraha. With this bhavam, where the matparaha comes into picture. When the senses are under control through the power of sustained discipline and practice, again, Shankaracharya uses the word abhyasa balat, the strength as given by the abhyasa, about the continued and sustained practice of the discipline. Such a person's wisdom becomes firmly established. And this is true Sthitapragya. That is the way that Shankaracharya has provided the bhashyam for this shloka. Abhyasa balat tasya prajña pratishtitha is the way that he concludes. And he introduces the next two shlokas in this place. The next two shlokas everywhere is seen together. The way that one regresses is what is being discussed in the next two shlokas. Ata idhani para bhavishyatah sarvan arthamulam idam uchyate. Now at this point, what is going to be the foundation of all objectives and the basis for attaining the supreme state, para bhavishyatah, is now being stated, idam uchyate. And this is the introduction he gives for the shloka number 62 and 63. The shloka number 62 we will look into the bhashyam of shloka number 62. Then we will take 63. We will look at the bhashyam of shloka number 63 and then do our natural or normal analysis. The shloka goes like this. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho bhijayate. Dhyayatah, while contemplating, when we are meditating, when we are putting our focus on something. On what? Vishayan. Pumsah is person, basically referring to human. Vishayans, the sense objects. Sangah teshu upajayate. Then this particular attachment towards that develops. This is the basis of all the advertisements. So what they are doing, they are bringing the contact between you and the object through something that is very catchy. In other words, they are promoting this attachment. This is what Bhagwan also says, when that particular attention is being put on the objects, there is an attachment towards that object that develops in you. Teshu, in them, upajayate. Upajayate is gives birth. In literal sense, it is gives birth. Sangat, when that sangaha happens from such attachment, sanjayate, again, is born. Contextually, develop. What develops? Kamaha, a desire. Now, once the desire has come into you, what happens? It translates or it transforms into krodham or shokam or lobham. Right? All these are the manifestation of kamaha. I once have the desire. What happens is, if the desire is weak, it just dies away. It is not a desire at all. It is just some kind of an interest. Whereas when the desire really is born into you, what happens? If you are unable to fulfill that desire, you are getting angry. Or if you are not capable of fulfilling that desire, it transforms into shokam. The same krodha is manifesting itself as shoka, as sorrow. Or if in case you are even more driven, somehow I must get it. That lobha, right? That greed kind of things develops into you. Abhijayate is born. This is the shloka number 62. For this, Acharya has very simply put, when a person constantly thinks about the sense object, which could be food, wealth, relationship, power, etc. That is what he has used as example in his statements. They begin to develop attachment, sangaha, a fondness, a sense of I want this. From this attachment arises kama, the intense craving or desire to possess or to enjoy or experience that object. When that desire is blocked or frustrated, what follows is krodha. It can be anger, irritation, or rage. Right? That is what is born in you. And we go into the shloka number 64. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bramshat buddhinashaha, buddhinashat pranashyati. So here is the further manifestation. So in the previous shloka, how that anger is born. From that anger, how one gets destroyed is discussed in this shloka. Krodhat bhavati. From that anger, krodhat bhavati, comes. Bhavati is more of comes instead of using is born. Contextually develops into sammoha. Sammoha, the sam is a prefix there, which is totality. Moha is the delusion. a total delusion. Delusion which can directly influence me. That is what is sammoha. Moham is there. There can be a lot of moham. But sammoha is that which is going to impact me, directly influence me in my thought, my actions, etc. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Sammohat, from that delusion, smriti. Smriti typically is your memory, right? But it can be used in terms of what is your understanding about it. And hence, contextually, what we in natural language use it as knowledge, right? Being in an awareness about something is called as knowledge in the colloquial way. But in true jnana, it is one that has transformed you and you have become one with it. That is what is jnana. That is the way that we differentiate it. So here smriti means the knowledge that you have acquired. What happens to that? Vibhramaha, right? That is, he develops a bewilderment. One becomes perplexed and confused. In other words, I have learned something. Logically, it has made sense. And now I also know that that is the correct thing, but that sammoha, that total delusion that you have got will envelop that sense of understanding that you already have. That is what is vibhramaha. That is the bewilderment that is caused in you. Now, once that knowledge has been destroyed, smriti bramshad, the development of bewilderment or awareness, what happens? The buddhi nashaha leads to the destruction of intelligence. We have seen this in the chapter number 1, where Arjuna, once he got this sammoha, right, if you remember, it started with raga, when he started seeing, instead of the enemies or instead of the opposing side to dharma on the Duryodhana side, he started seeing my grandfather, my guru, my relations, etc. That developed into moha. How can I kill them? Isn't this wrong? When that happened, his buddhi totally got destroyed. He started telling, hey, if everybody dies, there won't be people to do the Pitrikarya. That means not only here, even in the Pitriloka, things will happen. See, this is what is the bewilderment. And we can directly relate it to what Arjuna experienced. And when it is coming in this flow to Arjuna, you can understand the kind of impact it would have created in him. So Bhagavan says that is when your buddhi is nashaha. It gets destroyed. Then what happens? Buddhi nashat pranashyati. When that buddhi is destroyed, pranashyati. Pranashyati means perish, completely perish, because there is a prefix of pra. Nashyati is loss. Pra is used as a prakashena, or it is given the emphasis. They say some is another alternate, but that which has a direct impact in you, there we put pra, right? So completely perish, be utterly destroyed, or be lost. I am totally destroyed the moment my buddhi is destroyed. And my buddhi is destroyed when the awareness about the knowledge or the gained knowledge so far is masked, is covered, is enveloped. Right? That is happening when I am in total moham. And this comes as part of the krodha further manifesting. So it all starts where we will discuss about it in our analysis. Going into Bhashyam, Acharya puts it as from anger, a person becomes deluded. They lose control of themselves and their capacity to discern the right from the wrong. That is the most important thing. Very beautiful way that Acharya has put it. Shastra Acharya Upadeshahita Samskara Janitayaha Smritehe Syad Vibhramo is the way that he has used it. Everything that you have learned, through what? Through the Shastra, through your teacher, Acharya, whatever they have given you as an Upadesh, the Samskara, which is developed right from your birth, all the sense of that right and wrong are destroyed. This leads to destruction of buddhi. the inner faculty that judges and guides. That is the one that is getting destroyed. Once buddhi is gone, the person becomes incapable of meaningful action and is said to be lost. This does not mean physically dead, but spiritually and morally collapsed. Purushartha ayogyo bhavati ityartha is what Acharya has emphasized here. Purushartha ayogyo bhavati. Very important one for us to keep in mind. In a brief, thinking of sense objects, when the sense objects are presented in front of you, or when your eyes or your ears or your taste buds get in touch with their respective sense objects, then the next step happens. That is the most important thing. Eyes seeing the shape is not a problem. Eyes are meant to do that. Following that, there is a sense of me thinking about it. My mind starts following it. And that aspect is what is dhyanam. That is what is meant by dhyanam here. This leads to an attachment. That is sangaha. That sangaha leads to desire, kamaha. Kamaha leads to krodhaha, anger. And that can be put under all other feelings that we have discussed in the past. Shokam or dvesham or lobham. Every kind of that can be bundled under this particular term, anger. That leads to delusion, sammoha. That leads to loss of knowledge that has been attained through all these years of learning. That leads to the loss of intellect, the discriminative power, buddhi, buddhinashaha, karya, akarya, avivekaha is the way that Acharya has put it. That leads to the destruction of the self, pranashyati, purushartha ayogyaha bhavati, is the way that this entire bhashyam for the two shlokas can be clubbed together. Let us do the normal thing that we do, which is our traditional analysis. Purpose. A subtle warning. If you do not gain control on the sense organs, how it can lead to total destruction. He wants to point it out because of the concluding shlokas that will follow after this. It is very important, and why Bhagavan has put it in this order is something that we will discuss later. How effect manifests. Look at it objectively. You could be at several stages with respect to several things at the same time. When you are doing the mananam of it, think of it like I am to distance myself and observe me. And when you look at yourself, we are not one person. We are one person at a time. But in us, we are divided into so many activities. And in each of them, the extent of involvement may be different. So this breakup is also seen as a note for you to understand that when you are studying yourself, your situations, you are realize something and you apply this knowledge, then you can see on that aspect where you are. Don't put the subject as in I as a person who is in various places. I with respect to X where I am. That is the way that we must develop our mind. Understand where you are so that you can take corresponding action to overcome that effect. So if you are in a place where you are extremely angry, as in that desire has come up to that level, then you can take means that are appropriate for that position. It is not everything. It is not gone. You have totally got deluded. Whereas if in case your buddhi, your discriminative power about between right and wrong has been lost, then you know where you need to focus, how you need to overcome it. So you need to understand and try to scale yourself towards that. And of course, this is not applicable to a person who is in a realized state. The third one is clarification with respect to yatato hyapi kaunteya, that even if in case a person who is well knowledgeable can get caught into this, right? So he wants to say that, hey, you may think that I have learned about this. This has registered into me, and I have even started living with those values. Then Bhagavan wants to remind us that, hey, you may think that you have gained the control, but remember, you can still slip. And if you slip, this is the downfall. This is the downfall cycle. And realize it and come out of it fast. So that is another way of understanding this shloka. Root cause and elevation of the cause of internal collapse. Clarifying that it is not the sense organs and the sense objects are not the cause. That dhyanam, when I started the shloka itself, I was telling you, where you put that particular focus. The eye is going after the form is natural, it must. The problem is not that. The problem is the mind get following it. That is the main thing that is getting emphasized here. Dhyayato vishayan pumsah. Contemplation on the experience is the root cause, not the experience with the objects. In relation to Sthitapragya Lakshan, Bhagavan interprets the question as a drive in Arjuna as well as ourselves, aspiring for the stitham, for absolute stability of the prajna. This realization protects us from the regression. At that moment, you may still slip. And as soon as you slip, you can understand that, hey, I should have been kurmonganiva, I should have withdrawn my senses. And you can just laugh about it. And you will slip at various stages, which is absolutely fine. Having an awareness that you have slipped in itself will elevate you. And after that, you may want to put the right efforts to elevate. And we are going to consciously do it till such time it becomes our second nature. After speaking about Damaha, Bhagavan emphasizes the value of Shamaha. What is it? What is the difference between the two? In the Shadga Sampatti, we say Shamam Damam, right? So the first is Shamam. But here, Bhagavan is clarifying this, saying that first is Damaha that happens, but it is Shamaha which is going to be the impacting one. And hence, Bhagavan has spoken Damaha, introduced it to you, and emphasized the value of Shamaha. An important revelation that though Damaha comes first, absence of Shamaha is the root cause of samsara, is the root cause of the downfall in you, if you're seeing this as a downfall. Smriti vibhramaha, loss of memory. It is not like I will forget the birthdays, or I will forget anything that is happening, or I will forget the shloka words, etc. In tradition, this is clarified as losing the memory on the important aspects discussed and seen as a value by you, being forgotten, being overlooked, not coming to your picture at that time. Right? You have already learned what is right and what is wrong, what is dharmam and what is adharmam. You already have that sense. But at the time when it is required for you to scale it, that knowledge, that awareness that you already have developed, that you have already learned, gets clouded. It is hidden. It is taken away from you. That is what is the meaning of smriti vibhramaha. Pay close attention. Bhagavan does not say smriti nashaha. Brahmaha means to take a walk. Right? If you look at the actual dictionary meaning, etc., it is basically to take a walk. Go for a daily walk in the morning. Prataha brahmanam kuru. Go for walk in the morning. That is the way that happens to your smriti in this case. It has gone out for a walking. It is not going to help you, though you have it. Smriti nashaha would means that which you have learned has been totally destroyed. That doesn't happen. That which you have learned is going to be there in you at all times. But whether will it come to your rescue at the time of the need is the question. Brahma also means a whirlpool, unsteadiness, etc. learned values, I don't know, leaned values, the learned values lose their potence is the meaning that is attributed upon analysis as the most appropriate interpretation of this word. So this is something that I had written while creating this slide to say that, hey, when I look at it, there are so many meanings that are associated with this word, but I feel that the losing of their potence, the knowledge's potence in you, is what the Smriti Vibhramaha should mean in this shloka. The important lesson for us: bondage begins in unattended thought. World is not the problem. Your own mental fixation is the problem. That is what is the important lesson that we get to learn from this shloka. Here, Acharya introduces the 64th shloka. The root of all human downfall has already been explained to be the mental obsession with sense objects. Vishaya abhidhyana. Now, at this point, the cause of liberation, the moksha karana, will be introduced in the next shloka. So that is our 64th shloka. The shloka goes like this: Raga dvesha viyuktaistu vishayanindriyaischaran. Here, in some of the books, Raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishayanindriyaischaran. So this rendition is also there in the books, in the print, as well as in some traditions, maybe in some place. Wherever I have gone, it is always vimuktaistu. I have only learned that. But vimuktaistu, I have seen it in the book. And I'm told that they are also chanted as a practice by some traditions. Atma vashyair vidheyatma prasadam. So this is the 64th shloka, and we will take this shloka in our next class. The thought was, I have been telling Hari Bhaiya that I will be reaching out for his earlier question about the impact the circumstances are having and the sense of pressure that he is experiencing. And the question was about how is it that we can address it, or how is it that we can overcome it. We had earlier discussed about the first thing, which is you are getting disturbed not because of your inability. You have reached your position because of your abilities. Not only because of that ability, but also because of your swabhav. If that swabhav is rajasic in nature, let it be rajasic. Or if we can put it into 4 varnas, if your swabhav is of that of a Vaishya, for example, not a Kshatriya, but a Vaishya, very calculated and trying to see how I can derive benefit for me or for my organization, then let that be you. That is what has taken you to where you are. In the chapter number 7, towards the end, Bhagavan will say that there are 8 terms that he will use. Brahma, Adhyatmam, Adiyajnam, etc. There are 8 terms that Bhagavan will use. And he will say that a jnani would have realized the meaning of these, or would have realized these elements. So immediately in the 8th chapter, Arjuna will start with the question, Kim Tad Brahma? What is that Brahma, and so on. The element that is of importance here is Swabhavam. Adhyatmam, the explanation for Adhyatmam is Swabhavam. That Swabhav is your true nature. There are various schools that I have come across. There are various acharyas with whom I have discussed, where they tend to say the elevation should happen. Your swabhav should change. If your swabhav changes, it only weakens you. It doesn't strengthen. If the swabhav changes, it is a destruction of you. Becoming gunatitaha is the important thing. Gunatitaha is this body is of this swabhav. I am going to guide this body of this Swabhav for this body's accomplishments. I am not the one who is accomplishing. That separation of I versus this body and being in the realization of the I as the enabler, as the power behind this body is to be exercised, is what is true jnana. When I am sitting in the, say, chair of a CIO, like Hari Bhaiya, right? My intent should not be to see how I can be in this particular situation. Man, I am going to Bhagavad Gītā. There, what do you say, Naresh has said, or Guruji has said, hey, you need to elevate yourself from Rajasic to Sattvic, and then to Gunatita. If this is the way that you have been guided, what will happen is you will try to change your Swabhav. That is not the objective of Bhagavad Gītā at all. Bhagavan did not try to make Arjuna into a Sattvic person. He said, your nature is Kshatriyatvam. That Kshatriyatvam in you should live and it should serve. I am not the Kshatriya. This body which I am supporting today is Kshatriyam. It is something like this is, say, made of plastic and this is made of metal. The metal can perform the work of the metal. It cannot perform the work of a plastic. A plastic cannot perform the work of the metal. The key thing is understanding the Swabhav and becoming a guide to elevate that Swabhav. Then you get into this particular mindset. You will overcome the situations from putting a pressure onto you. This was the first thing that we had discussed. Today, for the second thing, I would like to say that look back into your core skills. There is going to be a subtle difference. What you are or what you were made you what you are today, the core nature in you. When as a human being, as a karta, as an intelligent being, we are not metal, we are not plastic, right? We are humans, right? From that jivan, from that living entity point of view, earlier you were discharging the duty of executing. Somebody came and told you that this is what we need to do. You discussed with them and you said, maybe this can be done like this, but you were under somebody's authority and you were marching along those paths. Way to overcome the situation from pressurizing you is to understand the patram or the kshetram. The word that we use is kshetram, but in terms of dan, we use the term patram. That which role that you are playing, what that role demands. When I was X, I was an architect. I architect solutions and I need to work on that. But tomorrow, if in case they are going to make me into a director, into a CIO, I need to understand that what I was contributing as an architect should not be my goal. My goal must be to embrace this new situation, to embrace this new role and figure out what are all the aspects that are required for this role. Everybody does it. This need not be as an advice. But what happens is when you are in this downfall cycle, it's not a downfall cycle, it's a pressure cycle. Because of that, there is a smriti vibhramaha. We just saw that. Awareness about this aspect could be lost, could be deluded. It might have gone for a walk. And hence I'm just bringing it to the attention to say that, hey, when this happens, take a step back and see what is it that I am missing in this role, not as in this person. The person, as I'm sitting at my work, Naresh is Sampurnam, it's full. The place where it is missing is how I associate myself to the given role. Checking on that role clarity is something that can be done repeatedly. This could be the second value that can elevate. And this, as I told you before, this is a long answer. It will have multiple sessions. And in fact, throughout the Sthitapragya Lakshan, everything that we discuss will be towards that. Right? And there is one beautiful shloka, 69th shloka, where he says that that which is a night for you is a day for the jnani. That which is day for you is night for jnani. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tesham jagarti sanyami. Very beautiful shloka. So we'll continue this particular journey. The other thing that I learned, that having discussed about two, maybe the third one for today will be, I recently happened to see Narendra Modi, the movie that they have made. As I was seeing the movie, there was one shot that came, and I said, hey, maybe this is one of the most powerful things that can be given as an idea when particularly you are under a high pressure situation. Narendra Modi goes back to Gujarat, and there he has been tasked with fighting the elections. His guru from the RSS, I think, right, he will say that, hey, last time you came to remove the government, this time you have come here to create the government. Narendra Modi will, you are such a great man who has done all these things. So he says that because I had Modi, who have you got? This was a very revealing kind of a scene for me. Not that there is anything special about it, but because this question was there in the mind, I think it just appealed. The first thing that we need to do, I have seen this in almost all senior leaders. There will be one or two individuals who are their person, on whom they can blindly put the trust. And that needs to be established, cultivated, and developed. And when that is done, you will see that your ability to deliver kind of just multiplies. Finding that right person. That is why in most of the senior leadership, you will see that when the senior leader, the leader leaves and goes, with him, few will go to their organization, to this new organization as well. They go as a family. And that is very, very important. It also reminded me of Ramayana, where it was Hanuman. He found Hanuman. That ability to spot that capability as well as an absolute partner, a reliable partner for the situation is one of the key contributors to taking you out of the high pressure aspects. I hope I answered it to some degree today, but we will continue exploring this answer further. With this, I will take a break today and move on to Q&As. Prabhakar Bhaiya, always you are on the top.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you. Nice session. And just to share with the team, the last week's this one I have been replaying during my ride to office, the YouTube version of your last week's session. So every time I go through, I get a new facet revealed. So it's very intense. I have very few words to express. I don't know how to. I'm happy doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, express it wrong.
Yeah.
Serious. And you know,
Yeah.
2 times you will do it wrong. All of a sudden, you don't know. You started riding your bike. Do you know when and how you gained the balance of bike? Similar expressions also.
That thing also reminds me about what is it called? The higher thing that needs to be followed to get rid of the lesser attachments.
Correct.
The higher purposes.
Mat paraha.
This week also, I mean, I'm happy while you said this Hanuman thing. I'm happy to some extent, having been Hanuman to some of my earlier bosses.
I'm sure, man. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Hari Bhaiya?
Oh, it was such an excellent last 10 minutes, Guruji. I'm going to keep listening to that. Thank you so much. You really answered my question. And now I know that why you said last couple times, wait for this session. Thank you, Guruji, really. And I think it was great, the Vaishya and the Kshatriya's duties, and reminding them how you articulated for Arjuna, rather than changing them to be different, right? That's great, Guruji. That's a great learning again, reminding me today.
So I don't prepare anything for giving these answers. I just come and give the
Amazing.
answers, actually. So
Amazing.
whatever comes to my mind, I just speak about it. And I know I have not completely answered the question, because it is a book kind of a question. It is like a core problem that we are all facing. So there can be a lot of points that can be discussed throughout Bhagavad Gita, for that matter. Janu Beta.
Hi, Naresh uncle. No questions for me, but I just wanted to say I really liked today's lesson, and I think that this advice of understanding the flow of attachment to desire to anger, for the below, it hit me at the right time. I feel like in the last few weeks I'd been really struggling getting all like the results back from all of my work, and it wasn't where I needed to be, and I think I channeled too much time and power into feeling that anger, into feeling that emotion. But to remember that even though, it's good to get good grades, and that is something that we look up to, that's still an attachment that you need to release. And that's still, even when it gets blocked, feeling that anger, you don't need to feel the anger to make the changes that you need. So I think that's very helpful, and it's hitting me at the right time as this in-between state where I still have time to work to the future and fix the stuff with exams next week. So thank you.
We all of us will wish you all the very best for your exams, and really look forward to seeing a very successful architectural engineer, and guiding us in terms of how things are to be done. We'll just wait for you to come to that place.
Thank you, Shankar.
Thank you, Janu.
God bless you, Janvi. Very happy to have you amongst us. You will scale great heights.
Guruji, Ramni and I are both together. She does not have any questions, but I think today's session was really very well laid out. It's obviously a natural progression, right? So I really enjoyed the process of how Bhagavan is asking you to start looking at these things. At least the control of the indriyas, as you had indicated, right? I think being watchful, what should obviously become involuntary should start as a voluntary action on one's part and continue to manifest, I guess, to it becoming a natural part of yourself. So, and I was hoping, and I don't know, maybe in the following shlokas, we'll actually get to the part where we will be taught, how do you know that you're losing control? And the first part is obviously identifying when you're slipping, and I guess the question is, how soon do you realize, and then you come back to what you're trying to do, right? So I guess that is something I'm really looking forward to. But I guess if I understood, today's session, it's about being watchful, consciously watchful of where you're slipping, and as you're slipping, realize that, and as you said, just laugh at it and see how your mind is playing games, and then laugh at it and continue to go back to what you're doing, right? So I like that. And the second part of my question was around the bhavas, right? So you indicated, the Vaishyas or Kshatriyas. How do you know what a person's true bhava is, right? So what are you supposed to excel or be good at, or do your karmas in, right? So I don't know. I guess it's an open-ended question. So I was just curious about that. I'll pause there.
Beautiful questions, both of them. Bhagavan answers the second question that you asked in the 18th chapter, right, where he very clearly puts all the guna and karma that is associated with the four varnas in the 18th chapter. He touches upon that in the 4th chapter. That is again something that we will be touching, to say that, the four varnas were created by me. is the way that he would put it in the 4th chapter. But the real detailed expression is put there. But answering to your question, unfortunately, no one else in this world can guide you to know your Swabha. No guru, no hypnotist, not even Bhagavan. They cannot. The only person who can define and identify themselves is you. The reason why Bhagavan did not speak in detail about the 4 Varnas till the end was because you require the basic jnana to be able to diagnose yourself. But if you are given what is the definition, which is in the 18th chapter, before imparting the knowledge, you will start making assumptions about yourselves. And hence, he first clears your mind of all the assumptions and presumptions that we make, and eventually he delivers what is this, which can help you in identifying your Swabhav. Again, identification of your Swabhav should not be an exercise. The exercise must be to elevate yourself to become an observer. And once you have become an observer, then you embrace the quality of that being that you have seen and is slowly changing in you. That is the key, where we trying to distance ourselves and be able to look at us is the key differentiator between them. And regarding the first question, we need to be a little careful here too. What is it that we are trying to gain control of? What is it that we are trying to be observing about? Not the eyes seeing the object or sound being heard by the ear. They are performing their duty. Don't disturb them. Let them do what they are doing. The place where you have to pay attention is my mind following that stimuli? This is what we have to discuss about. In fact, I was doing the slides for the other shloka that I was telling, where Bhagavan says, this is night and this is day. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tesham jagrati sanyami. And there I have introduced something about this sanyami, etc. I would say let us wait for the flow to come, because Bhagavan knows this communication is much, much more powerful than jumping between. So we'll just wait for that.
Oh, very fair, Guruji. Thank you so much. Again, as always, thoroughly enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we will take leave today, and we will connect again next week. Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.